Hello, my name is Ronan O'Neill, and welcome to the Zurich offices in Blackrock, County Dublin, where today we're going to be talking about auto-enrolment. The government has just confirmed that the launch date of auto-enrolment will be the 1st of January 2026, which is a little over 6 months away. So the countdown clock is very much ticking, and now is the time that you should be preparing yourself, your business, and importantly your employees for the introduction of auto-enrolment. We've been speaking to employers up and down the country. We've been talking about auto-enrolment for what feels like years, but now we have a confirmed launch date, which is great news. But there's still a lack of clarity out there amongst employers. So perhaps if we go back to the beginning, tell us, why is the government introducing auto-enrolment in Ireland, and what exactly does it mean?
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, auto-enrolment has been discussed for many a year now at this stage, and really at the early part of the century, we can say that it was prompted by the introduction of PRSAs trying to increase pension coverage. But because PRSAs were voluntary in nature, unfortunately, that didn't succeed. So what we're left with today is about 800,000 people in employment who currently do not have any pension coverage whatsoever. So that the government want to address that. And how they're going to address that is introducing this state-run auto-enrolment system. And what that'll do is that will bring any eligible employees, that's those employees who are not a member of an occupational pension scheme or a PRSA through their salary deduction, into the state-run auto-enrolment system, and that will operate, we believe, from the 1st of January of next year, 2026.
Okay, so these are 800,000 people. They currently qualify for the state pension, or most likely get the state pension, but they don't have any other form of private provision, or they haven't joined their existing company's scheme.
Exactly. And, many of these employees, they will be transient in nature. So, they may work in the retail or services sector, where traditionally there hasn't been a high level of pension coverage. So the aim is to increase pension coverage, increase wealth in retirement for these people, because as the country is getting older, the demographics of the country are getting older, it's very, very important that wealth is created for those retirees.
Okay, so 800,000. So tell me, what is the criteria for these people to be auto-enrolled?
Okay, so it's for any of these employees that are aged over 23 or under the age of 60, earning over €20,000 or more per annum. And that €20,000 can be from multiple employments, by the way, and that are not contributing into an occupational pension scheme or PRSA through salary deduction. They will become what's known as eligible employees. So from the 1st of January 2026, there will be a deduction from their own pay of 1.5% of their overall earnings, up to that ceiling of 80,000. That will be matched by the employer. And what is unusual compared to the existing occupational pension system and the group PRSA is there'll be a state top-up in place of tax relief. And that state top-up will be for €1 for every €3 the employee contributes. And that will come into play in the 1st of January 2026.
Okay, so slightly different set up to your traditional pension scheme. But so if we take employers, they may have a pension scheme with Zurich or with someone else. Not everyone in the company will have joined that pension scheme. So it's those people that are eligible, providing they meet that criteria, 23 to 60 and earning more than 20,000, they will be auto-enrolled.
They would be auto-enrolled. So if, the vast majority of pension schemes we have here at Zurich are voluntary by nature. That is that the employee has the option to join the pension scheme, potentially after a set amount of time. If those employees haven't joined the pension scheme by the time auto-enrollment comes in on the 1st of January, they will be automatically enrolled.
So you're going to, from 1st of January next year, you're going to see an existing company pension scheme that's been running for a number of years, and then a second one, which is auto-enrolment.
Yes.
So this is the operational challenge that employers are going to face.
Yes, and we've been talking to employers, as you said, for the last year or so, in particular with relation to auto-enrolment. And a number of employers are looking to integrate all their employees into their existing arrangements, but some are happy to run a hybrid arrangement where they'll operate their existing pension scheme alongside auto-enrolment. Because auto-enrolment, the interface for auto-enrolment will be the payroll, and we'll talk about that later on. But so there won't be a huge amount of administration in addition to the administration involved with their existing pension scheme for employers. Okay. So that's important to note.
Okay, we'll get into a little bit of that in a little bit more detail. Looking from the employee perspective, so people have decided not to join the pension scheme. 1st of Jan, they're now going to start seeing a deduction through their salary going into AE. Not everyone will be happy with that. So there's people who are going to say, I don't want to be part of an AE scheme, or What are the opt-outs? What are the ability for someone to say, I don't want to be part of it?
So this is what we would call a quasi-mandatory pension system, in that the employee does have the option, as you quite correctly said, of opting out after a certain period of time. That period of time is 6 months. So they can opt out of the system. If they do so, they will automatically be enrolled 2 years after they opt out. They will get their contributions back, but the employer will not get their contributions back, and that will be left in the pot along with the state top-up for the member. So that's very important to note. The employees can also suspend their contributions at any time, and again, the same rules apply. If they are to suspend their contributions, just leave it there. They'll be re-enrolled to prevent any inertia occurring after 2 years. So there is an opt-out facility there. It probably will get popular, probably amongst the lower age cohort, you would imagine. But this will be something I'm sure that the operators of the system will be looking at very, very closely.
Yeah. So you can opt out, but you're auto-enrolled back. You're opted back in, and so it's a continuous process. You have to constantly look to opt out every couple of years.
Yeah, you would be re-enrolled every 2 years, and then you have that window again after every rate increase, which is every 3 years. There'll be a window for the employees to opt out as well.
Again, go back to the start. Ireland is probably one of the last countries to introduce auto-enrolment. When you look at other countries, it does work. Auto-enrolment has been very popular with other countries.
It's been very successful, and we are actually one of the last OECD developed country to introduce such a system. And the great thing is we probably learnt from the mistakes of other jurisdictions. So we've seen how the UK have done it, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And what we have here is a system that is, I think the main complaint from those other jurisdictions was its heavy administration. This is light in administration for employees, or employers, I should say. As I mentioned, the interface is payroll, and that's the main concern. But the what we've seen in other systems, particularly the UK, which has a similar opt-out option, is rates being very, very low. So I'm sure they're very hopeful here that the opt-out rates will be kept low as well. But the one thing to note with such a system is, and we've seen this particularly in Australia, it takes a long time to get to maturity. It took 25 years for the Australian system to get to maturity. And that's only when employees will achieve pension adequacy. So really, I wouldn't be looking at auto-enrolment as a solution for employees or employers that are serious about providing for their retirement benefits.
Yes, do you know what? We've seen it as it's a great conversation starter to get employees and employers more engaged in managing their pension scheme and encouraging people to join their existing pension. Because most likely the existing pension scheme will offer better benefits, and it's a better longer-term solution for employees. Is there a bit of a comparison, or can you share some comparisons between a traditional pension scheme and auto-enrolment?
I think there's a couple of small points that should be noted. I think really regards flexibility, auto-enrolment isn't that flexible. There's no potential for employees to make additional contributions, get tax relief that they can in an occupational pension scheme. And the other thing is flexibility about retirement age. So the retirement age for auto-enrolment is linked to the state pension age, which is currently the earliest age of 66. So, you can retire early in an occupational pension scheme or group PRSA with certain conditions applying. So if employees are looking for flexibility in relation to those areas, that's severely lacking, unfortunately, in the auto-enrolment system. But the auto-enrolment system, I think we have to remember, is sort of like a safety net for those that aren't in existing arrangements, and just to pick it up and gradually mature a system. So it's really for future generations to benefit from it. I think at the moment it's just to get it up and running is the main concern for the Department of Social Protection in particular.
Yeah, it's the hardest part, is getting it started. Once it's started, then we can move on with it. I just want to bring you back to, you mentioned 800,000 people. And we know that 200,000 of those are higher rate taxpayers. Higher rate taxpayers are better off from a tax relief perspective going into an existing private pension arrangement such as their company pension scheme. You just explain what the logistics behind that is.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier on about the state top-up being €1 for every 3. That in tax relief percentage terms, that equates to 25%. So for higher rate taxpayers, they can get tax relief on their own contributions of 40%. So it makes far more sense for them to look at alternatives to auto-enrolment, such as an occupational pension scheme through a master trust or group PRSA, where they can avail of that higher rate of tax relief. So yeah, I think there's very few options or criteria that we can give blanket advice on auto-enrolment. The one area we're fairly certain on, though, is for higher rate taxpayers to look for an alternative to auto enrolment rather than just drift into it.
Yeah, so really, higher rate taxpayers should certainly consider joining their existing pension scheme. But it's a more nuanced question for lower rate taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Niall, thank you very much. Hope you found this session useful. We will be looking to do more as we come closer to auto enrolment. As I say, it's only 7 or 8 months away. But thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you found this useful. Thank you.